KGY News time is 5:46. Our question of the day is at facebook.com/AM1240KGY. The question this evening, who do you think is the front runner in the Republican Party? With more on that, we welcome to the phone lines our political correspondent, John M. Hanson. What's happening, John?
Hey, not much. How you doing, Mr. Federson?
Oh, very well, very well. Thank you for calling in.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Now, just looking at the question overall, who do you think the front runner in the Republican Party is so far?
Well, without a doubt, it's Mitt Romney. I just saw that they basically gave him Florida, and he's has a pretty solid lead on Gingrich right now. It looks like he hasn't won, so I think that definitely makes him the front runner at this point. That was a big state, 50 delegates with that state. So, yeah, he's without a doubt the front runner.
Very true. What do you think it is about Mitt Romney that makes him that guy?
I've actually... It's been interesting. I followed most of the debates in 2008. There was a lot to follow because there was Democrat and Republican debates going on. But I decided this time around I wanted to follow every single debate. I committed myself to doing that. I've seen every debate.
Wow.
And it's been pretty entertaining at times. It's been a headache at times. There's a lot of fact-checking involved and everything. But I think Mitt Romney, I think what has done it for him is his ability to debate, and I think his appearance is really good, and he's just a real solid debater and a very sharp guy, and he knows how to respond the right way to attacks, and he also has a pretty solid record, even though he does have some issues on his record.
He does seem to be a master debater. I mean, he's got everything really just kind of, I don't know, his research is, well, I think when you do some fact checking, he's got the most accurate facts so far. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I definitely don't agree with everything that he says, and I don't align a lot with his political views. But I think, yeah, for the most part, that he definitely does. And I say that he does. I don't agree with some things because my biggest issue with Mitt Romney is that he's bended on issues in the past, like when he ran for governor of Massachusetts. As most people know, he flip-flopped on abortion and some other things. And in my opinion, he did that to get elected in a mostly Democrat state. And so I think the concern for a lot of people when considering Mitt Romney as president is I think people wonder what he's bending on now. But that seems to be the case with most political candidates, at this stage. When you're competing with the big dogs in politics, it seems like in order to be successful, you almost have to kind of bend on issues.
Do you think it's more
coincide with popular opinion?
Do you think it's more so bending or coming to a compromise?
Well, I think it's more so like they'll say. I think a lot of times they'll just say what they need to say in order to to get votes, because that's what ultimately comes down to.
This is true, and if we look at it seems to be Romney-Gingrich. If we look at the two, I think Romney's the clear-cut champion. I mean, Gingrich has a pretty different kind of past, and a lot of that's starting to come out now.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's kind of funny, too. Just like a couple of days ago, I was on Facebook, and our friend Steve Jordan, who is on, he posted something pretty funny about Newt Gingrich. He said, Newt Gingrich wants to colonize the moon. I think I've given up on the GOP.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with him on that, because it's just considering our economy and the massive amount of debt and where we're headed with that debt, just now is not the time to be doing something like that. Plus, we have another 5 billion years, until the sun starts eating away at our galaxy. So
it's not really a hot button issue right now. And it was funny in the last debate too how Newt went off on that whole, we're going to the moon, but Obama's out of touch.
Oh, I know. And I thought it was funny when it got to Ron Paul, he said they finally got to him. They went down the line, and he was the last one. And he said, well, I don't know about colonizing on the moon, but I think we should send some of our politicians to the moon. And I just thought that was great.
Nice. Looking at the field overall, there is still some hanging around. Rick Santorum, you just mentioned Ron Paul. If we're going to look at everybody not, I guess more objectively, who do you think the best candidate is?
That's a great question. And like I said, I've been following all the debates and researching the candidates. And for me, a big thing is honesty. And I really have found that Ron Paul seems to be the most honest and sincere.
Yeah. And
I find it unfortunate that so much of the media seems to be kind of discounting him and labeling him as crazy. But I really have, and he's not that's the other thing is he's not the best speaker, which I think hurts him because Romney and Obama and these other guys are a lot better politicians and speakers, and he's just not that great of a speaker. But when you really look at the context of the things that he's saying, he really has some sound and solid ideas, and that I think would really benefit the majority of the country, and issues that I think most Democrats and most Republicans agree with.
Right. He seems to have real solutions to go with the problems.
Yeah, I completely agree. He wants to go to the more isolationist stance on foreign policy, which actually the majority of Americans would like to see happen. And among other things, like I think the majority of Americans would just like to see us balance our budget.
Yep.
And I think the majority think that we do need to make some cuts to the federal government. And Ron Paul's willing to take a stand on that. And the other big thing is the war on drugs. He's willing to. Most Americans know that the war on drugs is a complete failure. And
yeah.
if you want, I can go into that. But really, if we can fix that, then that'll be a big stimulus to our economy.
This is true. The war on drugs has cost this country a lot of money, but we're not exactly sure how good it's done or what the purpose, or have we achieved the purpose that we set out for? No, because people are still using all the time, with some drugs in greater numbers.
Yeah, it's marijuana, which is the more hot button issue on drugs, on legalization of drugs. Marijuana use has gone up. I mean, and we've spent billions and billions of dollars fighting these drugs with this war on drugs, and it just really hasn't been helping. And I wanted to say some numbers. Like right now, 64% of Democrats and 63% of Republicans and 70% of independents consider the war on drugs to be a failure. And I thought it was interesting too. I was looking today about something that happened in Portugal in 2001. They actually had some crime and drug issues, and they decided to legalize all drugs. And so the results were actually pretty amazing. Drug use actually went down, and the economy got better.
Yeah, no, I'm in total favor of that too, because then it's called survival of the fittest. Nobody told you to shoot that. You know what I mean?
Well,
yeah.
You're not telling kids that you can't do something. When you tell someone you can't do it, you're going to do it more. You're more likely to do it. And so when you say you can do it, it's not so fun anymore because everyone's doing it.
Right, the rebellion factor. Sure.
Yeah,
definitely.
Exactly. And look at what happened with the prohibition. Like with the prohibition of alcohol, it didn't work. Just think about what happened when that took place. Alcohol use didn't go down. We're spending all this money fighting prohibition. Alcohol use didn't go down, and crime went up. We got the Al Capones and people like that. And Ron Paul is, constantly talking about this, and he makes some good points too. The other problem with the war on drugs is it's an attack on the civil liberties of African Americans. And he has some, and this is true because he has some really, really solid points and some good numbers that go along with this. And he's promoting this all the time. But if you look at the cities, in the cities, 13% of all drug users are African American. And then if you look beyond that, I think it was about 36% of all those arrested for drug charges are African American.
Wow.
And if you go even beyond that, about 76% of people that go to federal prison for drug charges are African American.
Right, I've seen that stat also. It's an interesting thing to look at overall. It is, and to ask why that is, why what's the correlation there? Right,
and so why are we spending these billions when blacks are being treated unfairly, clearly by the numbers, and we could be. And drug use will go down, and we won't have so much crime on the borders. And I'm really passionate about this issue, obviously, but I think it would be a great benefit to our economy. And that's the unfortunate thing about the candidates we have now. President Obama wants to continue the war on drugs, and same with Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney, who are probably going to win it. One of the two, probably Romney. But Ron Paul is really the only one that wants to fight the war on drugs. So.
Yeah, this is true. It's funny you mentioned
because he probably won't win. So
we look
media
at
hates him too much.
Yeah, this is true. But I think there's a lot of disdain for Newt Gingrich also. But I think again that goes back to his past. I mean, this is a guy who served his wife who was having issues with cancer, served her divorce papers while she was in the hospital. I mean, that's That's pretty scummy.
Yeah. Well, from what I heard, she was very, very ill, and then his second wife, and she was at her mother's 84th birthday party.
Wow.
And not Mitt Romney, Newt Gingrich called her and informed her that he'd been cheating on her with one of his employees.
What?
Yeah. I mean, cheating is one thing, but the way he went about this, is another thing. So he told her he had been cheating on her with one of his employees. And this is all in the midst of the whole Lewinsky scandal, and he was trying to get Bill Clinton impeached for perjury, within the Lewinsky scandal.
Yeah, for pretty much doing the same thing.
Right.
But,
and I think people are just tired of these partisan politics and just the hypocrisy and it's just ridiculous. And I just hope people will pay more attention and elect the person that's really got our best interest in mind.
This is true. And going back to Clinton, the stain on that dress, that was hard evidence. It was hard to get away from that.
Right. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, Brittni had a question.
So what's your take? How is a Mormon running for president? What is your take on that? How does that affect the being a Republican Party now that we talk about the different things? Does that change something?
I think, that's a good question. I actually grew up Mormon. I'm not the best Mormon, but
that's all right.
That's actually, I kind of was actually rooting for Mitt Romney for a long time, until about a month and a half ago. And I had to be honest with myself and realize, who really do I want? And I, really decided that I wanted Ron Paul because he's honest and I agree with the issues more. But I think it's kind of a good thing because I think among conservatives and a lot of Christians, there's a lot of misunderstanding of Mormonism, and so a lot of conservative Christians are kind of wary about Mormons. But I think it's good for the Mormon community for sure to have a Mormon president or just a Mormon president runner-up, whichever happens.
So what do you think about the ads? Do you think that is running the campaign right now, him being Mormon? Because all really that I remember hearing in the campaign heist is that he's a Mormon, but I don't ever really know what his issues are. What are your thoughts?
You haven't heard what his issues are from the ads?
Not really. I mean, I don't watch a whole lot of TV, but really I don't hear a lot of talk about what his issues are, just that he's Mormon, and then all the commercials are, it's kind of like the Mormons are pushing the drive, and there's not really a big issue. It's just he's Mormon.
Yeah, I think that, obviously that's going to happen. If he was Catholic, probably the majority of Catholics that get behind him. He's Mormon. The majority of Mormons are probably going to get behind him just for that reason. But as far as where he stands, I think he seems to pretty much stand where the Republican Party stands on most issues.
Yeah.
So not very. He's not as independent of a thinker as like our presidential candidate to be.
Most agree.
Neither is Obama, in my opinion. So.
Well, there you go. John M. Hanson, thank you for calling in and being our political correspondent. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep. John C. Hanson, by the way. But yes, I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
That's
have a good night, guys.
not what
Thank
I
you.
heard. Thanks for calling.